Hey everybody, Tony D and Little Joan here with a hot take on the Dalton School. This is from the post millennial. New York's prestigious Dalton School caught in race meltdown, as they call it. The Dalton School, long considered one of the best known prep schools in the world for the elite, has found itself in the middle of what's being called a race meltdown over critical race theory. We'll get into it. Before then, smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Please check out my videos on BitChute. BitChute's been a little wonky recently. I've had some exclusives. I can't talk about the election fully here, but I can talk about it there. And I can curse over there without getting flagged or whatever. Also, check out my books. Still could get them in time for Christmas. You could order them through Amazon. Links in the description. If you're into the woke stuff, check out Wokeistan, a novel. Also, Hollywoke, another novel. And of course, the Pineys, books 1 through 5. All right. As the big tech tyrants tighten their grip, join us for more. Oh, that's not the article. That's a bit of an advertisement for the PM. The Dalton School, long considered one of the best known prep schools in the world of the elite, has found itself in the middle of what's being called a race meltdown over critical race theory as school administrators scramble to implement so-called anti-racist measures, including required courses on black liberation and an overhaul in the curriculum to reflect woke narratives. So this is exactly what I talked about in the previous video. So let's get into some of their demands. This is from Colin Wright. The Dalton School in Manhattan is having a race meltdown. It's absolutely insane. Teachers are holding the school for ransom with demands, but they're so extreme the school will crumble if they give in, but they'll crumble if they don't. 2, here are some of the demands, and we've got to blow up here. And this doesn't surprise me that it's coming from the teachers. The teachers have turned into woke tards beyond belief. It's not just in prep schools like this. It's colleges, it's high school, it's grammar school. I've seen these teachers, and this was a few years ago when I was a sub, but they've been leaning this way for a long time. They've always leaned left, but now they've fallen into a vat of communism, and they're just like, oh. So here's what the teachers are demanding. Some of their demands. This isn't even all of them. These are apparently the highlights. Number 1, the hiring of 12 full-time diversity officers. This is for one school. And really, when you say diversity officers, what you mean is you're basically hiring somebody to run around and go, well, do you have enough people of every color here? Do you have enough inclusion, enough diversity? They're like woke little Nazis. Next, number 2, an additional full-time employees whose, quote, entire role is to support black students who come forward with complaints. Well, that's incredibly racist. Why just for the black students? You can't just, substitute other races for the word black, and you'll see that it's completely racist. You can't do that. It's totally discriminatory. Everybody has complaints. Number 3, hiring of multiple psychologists with, quote, specialization on the psychological issues affecting ethnic minority populations. Now that sounds borderline racist. It's like you're just going to hire a bunch of psychologists just in case the ethnic students have a problem. It also seems to be coddling the ethnic students, like you're assuming they're going to have all the problems immediately. These teachers, in my view, this is all my opinion, is they're so woke. They're literally nurturing their own students to death. This is what I talked about. And again, it has a lot to do with the dark side of, I think, the female, I don't know, you would call it personas, the female brain, I guess. They want to nurture you to death when it gets that dark. Most women are going to just say, if there's a problem, we'll deal with it. But you have these teachers who they've gone off a woke cliff. They really have. It's not enough. They want to cure everything. They want to cure. They don't want to just cure racism. They want to cure anger. They want to cure, frustration. They want everybody to be happy. And most of them are very unhappy people themselves. At home, they have their own frustrations and stuff. And if you called them out on that, they'd be like, well, that's different from me. I have my own frustrations. They can rationalize their own things. But for other people, no. We need all this. Number 4, pay off student debt of incoming black faculty. Again, racist. You're just paying off the debt of the black faculty. You can't do that. It's totally discriminatory. Number 5, reroute 50% of all donations to New York public schools. I don't know if the math works out. I'd have to see the numbers on your school. Do you run by donations or tuition? It's a prep school. I don't know if they can afford to lose 50% of their revenue. They could certainly donate some, I'm sure, but I'm not sure how that would work. Number 6, elimination of AP courses if black students don't score high as white. Wow. That's incredibly racist. That is the racism of low expectations. So you're just going to eliminate, the black students didn't score as high. That's insane. You're going to be eliminating courses at random, because it'll be totally random whether or not black students score lower than white students. It'll be totally random. There's no scientific basis for that at all. Number 7, required courses on black liberation, whatever the hell that means. Number 8, reduce tuition for black students whose photographs appear in school promotional materials. Well, really any student who appears in the school promotional materials should be compensated, or you could reduce their tuition. Why just the black students? It's so bizarre. Number 9, public anti-racism statements required from all employees. That's just straight up communism right there. That's exactly what the communists would have you do. Not so much about racism. They'd have you stand up and either spout your crimes to the party if you're a prisoner, or, have you say things about communism, I guess. But there's no reason for that. That's just woke beyond belief. That's just them trying to, they'll get rid of any faculty member who refuses, or employee who refuses to do that. You're going to get the janitors to do that too, the union janitors. They'll tell you to go pound sand down a rat hole and then call their union rep. Mandatory, quote, community and diversity days to be held, quote, throughout the year. I don't even know what those are. Community and diversity days. What does that mean? Required anti-bias training to be conducted every year, emphasis included, for all staff and parent volunteers. It's like, you're going to be woke. We're going to make sure you're woke. And you're going to agree to be woke. And you're going to take the anti-bias training. That's probably critical race theory. Mandatory minority representation in otherwise elective student leadership roles. Mandatory minority representation. Again, racist. If the students don't elect minorities in their roles, in the leadership roles, then they've chosen students who aren't minorities. That's all there is to it. You can't force it upon them. You're teaching them a terrible, terrible lesson of racism. You're teaching them, no, you have to have at least a black person, an Asian person, and an indigenous person, or else you're a racist. It's not how life is going to work. You think this is helping. This is just making everybody resentful, angry, and annoyed. You're making the problem worse. You're creating racism. Mandatory diversity plot lines in school plays. No, absolutely not. Mandatory diversity plot lines? How dare you edit a play? You scumbags. You are scumbags. That infuriates me as a writer. I can only imagine having a play, a play like Little Women. Classic play. My nephew was in it for his high school. It was great. It's a great play. It's a great story. But, and it teaches a good lesson. There are women in it. Are you going to make sure that there's something about race in it too? It's not about that. It's a period piece. That's just awful. That's just awful. And finally, overhaul of entire curriculum to reflect diversity narratives. What does that even mean? Again, this is all about the wokeness I talked about in the previous video. These people have driven off a woke cliff, and they want wokeness constantly. And it won't be enough. That won't be enough. They can enact all these changes. It won't be enough. They'll still be angry. They'll still find reasons. No, this isn't woke enough. Every waking second has to be full of wokeness and diversity constantly. And it still won't be enough for these people. They're zealots. They're ideologues. They're not fit to teach at schools. They need to be deprogrammed. That's what they need. They need to be deprogrammed. They need to be kicked out of the school. The school should fire every person who supports this. Every single one of them, their problems will evaporate. Hire people who are just merit-based. That's it. Let them sue you, because they're going to end up suing you anyway. You can't possibly do all this. This would be a nightmare, and you'd be a fool to send your kid to a school like this. They would come out all screwed up and racist, like Antifa racist. Wow. I can only imagine how incredible the wokeness is already. The article continues, Dalton has actively encouraged the sort of thinking that's now biting them in the ass. The obvious irony is that if Dalton is systematically racist, a belief they themselves promote, it is progressives who bear the responsibility. Yeah. So, everything is racist. Everything is systematic racism. How did it get this way if progressives were in charge? And how do you expect them to cure it if they were in charge already? This is not going to do anything. This is like a temper tantrum from a child, except the child knows all these words. They know all these words and have way too much responsibility. I say, take the responsibility away from these people. Fire them. And replace them with people who don't give a crap about any of this.